I'm rarely flabbergasted. I'm a black man in America. I've read some stupid shit. I've heard some stupid shit. I've seen some stupid shit. So it really takes quite a bit to phase me and any other black person in the United States because, like, we're not raised in bubbles like white people are. Like, we are not allowed to escape reality. Okay? Like, our families do not raise us that way because they know that when we grow up to become men and women, that this society will have no mercy on us. We are not allowed to believe what we want to believe if it runs contrary to facts and the actual material reality that we are going to be living in as black people in this country. But a lot of white people are allowed to engage in fantasy, like what's essentially a fantasy. They are insulated from reality by their parents' class background and class position. And when they become adults, they are they're confused and they don't know what to do and they don't know how the real world works. So this person, Kieran, made a fairly garden variety post. If you're a leftist, you need to be working out 4 to 5 days a week and learning self defense, along with organizing with neighbors and in your local community for defense, food sovereignty, and community defense. There's no excuse not to do something to strengthen your body daily. And they continue the time for nihilism, self pity, and excuses is over. We are living in a fascist country, whichever country you're living in the West. Our vulnerable neighbors and people of the global south, such as in Palestine, need us to step up. Yes, there is a lot you cannot control in this world. What you can control is what food, drink, smoke, etc. you put inside your body, and you can control, for the most part, how you move your body and when and to what end. Use that. Focus on what you can control. Find things you love to do. They don't have to be what others love to do, and they can change over time too. Some things I love are boxing, Muay Thai, weightlifting for muscle growth, racquetball, basketball, jogging, walking, calisthenics, dancing. Move something every day. Learn about muscle growth and strength training and what it does for you. Especially if you are small or feel weak in any way, you should be lifting heavy weights and building muscle. You can do it at any age. Just start slow and build up. Look up progressive overload. Schedule time in daily. There is no excuse not to. A 20-minute, 100 jumping jacks and 50 push ups routine is better than nothing. You can do 20 minutes a day at least. If you have certain restrictions or disabilities, work within those, but still move every day. Note that they said, if you have certain restrictions or disabilities, work within those, but still move and exercise every day. You need to be strong for yourself and for those who are around you. In October 2019, I was walking with a cane due to a recurring knee dislocation. I was smoking half a pack of cigarettes a day. I quit smoking in August of 2020, and now I run regularly and lift heavy weights targeting muscles to support the area where I have disabilities. No fucking excuses. If you are still making excuses, it's because you want somebody else to carry you. Instead, you can grow the fuck up and do what you can do to help others. Stop acting like you're the center of the universe and you don't owe anybody anything. If you are a leftist, act like it. A fascist worked out today. Did you? So, if you're a leftist, especially a Maoist, this should not be controversial or strange to you in any way, right? Wrong. Because on the internet, people are going to be very internet minded. And people are either mocking it, saying, if you're a real leftist, you need to do 2,000 pull ups, 1,200 push ups, 5,000 sit ups, and 3,000 burpees every day. It's time to stop making excuses. The Socialist Rifle Organization retweeted. Well, these are similar posts. But, yeah. Like, because I hit see similar posts. So let's just view the quotes, okay? You can tell who is a serious person and who isn't based on how they respond to these kinds of posts. This is a bare bones recommendation for those who are able, and rather than read it that way, people just choose to nitpick the fact that it's not worded exactly perfectly for everyone. Leftists on the internet do this quite a bit. Um, they take what people are saying and they build up straw men to argue against, to try to make reality or make what another person is saying fit into this image that they've constructed in their head to justify being useless or justify continuing to be useless. Like the comrade Kiran said, we're needed. We have to step up for our comrades in Palestine. U.S. leftists, when you tell them that they're perfect little angels just the way they are. U.S. leftists, when you tell them that they can't change the world without also changing themselves. Womp womp. Tone if this tweet is annoying and you don't need to work out 4 to 5 days a week or so. Good sovereignty and community offense. Being incessantly picky about the wording of everything is literally a tactic feds use to disrupt organizing. Indeed. And then, of course, we have people complaining about ableism and stuff like this. Nobody's saying that you need to run a marathon if you're in a wheelchair. Nobody is like leaning into Nietzschean fascist willpower bullshit. Okay, nobody is saying that. Nobody. That's why I said like these people are building up straw men to argue against and make themselves feel better about their lack of activity. So my response was that saying that we should take measures to ensure that our bodies and minds are in the best possible working order as revolutionaries is not ableist. It's not discriminating against anybody. We should not delude ourselves and say that being morbidly obese, for example, is a good thing, as we know that it isn't. It leads to heart failure, diabetes, and a variety of other bad things that lead to an early death, especially in the West, especially in the United States, where our diets are literally starch, high fructose corn syrup, and various types of sugar. Like, especially the millennial and Gen Z generations that grew up on kid cuisine and all this other garbage. Um, yeah, do you have a workout routine that's outside of the obvious working class job workout? Well, I work in a homeless shelter. The most physically strenuous activity I do is getting up to open the door for clients that are outside and carrying clients that have been discharged stuff upstairs. Okay. Like I don't have a very physically intensive job. Um, when I like have a free moment, I do some push-ups. There's a door frame, pretty sturdy door frame. I do some pull-ups, sit-ups, like just in like my off hours. As a matter of fact, some people even call it BRG zoomies. I run around the building, well, around the outside perimeter of the building, like just to like keep my body in good working order. Am I a fucking bodybuilder? No, even though the size of my arms might like convince the people I am. Otherwise, like people ask me, do I have a regular workout routine? No, I don't. Um, but yeah, it's not disciplined. It's not organized. I don't go to the gym, even though I should start. But like I run around the building where I work outside. Um, Sit ups, pull ups, uh, push ups, shit like that. When I have a few free moments at work. But um, what's ableist is saying that people with disabilities are incapable of doing these things, and we should simply let people sit around and develop easily preventable health problems or wallow in misery because they can't help themselves because they were born with something that is defined as a disability. We should encourage all comrades to do better and better serve the people because you cannot serve the people if you can't help yourselves. So, let's see the responses to my post. It happens to disabled folks at fault here, not the society that was built against them. If you're not a good disabled person with a story that can be used as inspiration porn, you're worthless. Don't forget that. Okay, what is the fucking point? Like these people are getting in their feelings because Kieran said that you should fucking do something, like anything. We're not saying that you need to be fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger or Charles Tookie Williams, but like if you call yourself a revolutionary, like our enemies, the fascists, they're getting prepared. They're getting prepared and they're getting prepared to kill us. So if you don't take that seriously, like you're committing what Huey P. Newton would call reactionary self-destruction. I don't want to use the other word because that would be bad. It would probably get me banned. But like it just the level of emotional reaction, like this is reactionary shit. This should not be a controversial take. This should not be a controversial take at all. Like, this is literally what black communists, black revolutionaries have been advocating for decades. Like, the Black Panther Party had a regimen of physical training that comrades were expected to participate in. Did they have the guy in the wheelchair, the guy who was an amputee because of his service to the imperialists in Vietnam? Did they have him running a marathon? Absolutely not, because that doesn't make any sense. Dr. Radis Flatus, hell of a name. We are saying that exertion actually harms us. Getting my body mind in the best working order involves as much rest as possible. I said, then don't exert yourself. Nobody is telling you to work yourself until you die. Nobody is telling you that. You cannot find somebody that is telling you that. Like, who are you arguing with? What are you arguing against? Not listening to people telling you that exercise is medically proven to make their disabilities worse isn't it. Thank you for that. Okay, like, again, where did I say that if exercise will literally physically or mentally harm you, do it? I did not say that. Nobody said that. Kieran did not say it. I did not say that. I must encourage you to please review what size acceptance and disability liberation movements have had to say pertaining to such exhortations. When's the BRG fitness streams coming then? But like, it's just emotional bullshit. Like, if these are our revolutionaries, we're fucking cooked. I'm sorry, we're fucking through. This is the main thing that I need to work on, though. Like, I ate this whole fucking thing. This is not good. This is a giant fucking ball of starch and cholesterol and red meat. So my diet is definitely something that I need to work on. That's actually my main critique of myself. Like, they're calling people fucking Nazis, fucking fascists, because of like these garden variety ass posts. Every 3 months, we have the same discourse about working out or reading or cooking, being ableist. I know it sounds conspiratorial, but I gotta think it's gonna be some feds starting this discourse to stifle actual productive discourse. Like, I'm not one of those leftists that like attributes everything to the insidious machinations of the CIA, but like, come on. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. For what it's worth, yes, I think people on the left should read, exercise, and or develop a skill. The left is too packed with navel-gazing discourse and very little action. But also, it's for your own good too. Getting out of your own head and doing something tangible will help you feel better. This is true. October 7th was the day the music died for so many of us, but we will dance again. Shabbat Shalom. Okay, say I've lived under a rock for the past 5 or 6 years, okay? No, matter of fact, I've lived under a rock. I have been totally like walled off from the rest of the world my whole life. If somebody told me that a place called Israel existed and they showed me this, I would totally despise this place and think that it needs to be wiped off the face of the earth. I gotta learn how to love without you. I gotta carry my cross without you. Stuck in the middle and I'm just about to figure it out without you. And I'm done sitting on without you. Fuck, I'm going out without you. I'm gonna tear this city down without you. Like, is this supposed to be a positive representation of your country? Because if I saw this and I had never ever heard of Israel, I would think that Israelis are the most annoying people on the face of the earth, and I would want the country to no longer exist. What do you all want me to watch? What is this?
We the people are the ones who gonna have
Dead Prez. I love him.
The fight. We used to say, which side are you on? Which side are you on? The truth is, we're in so much debt that the only way out is revolution or war. So now the question is, which side are you on?
I would recommend all those sensitive snowflake wannabe pseudo-revolutionaries that were arguing about a garden variety post getting in their little fifis to watch this. Like, that's the thing. Like, I keep telling white people, like, you all are so far behind us in terms of revolution, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like Dead Press, Tupac even, George Jackson, Kevin Rashid Johnson, Asada Shakur. Like, we have an entire body of Black revolutionary theory that you all do not engage with, and that's why you all are so backwards. Like, what the fuck are you all still doing? Like, somebody told me that they want Bernie Sanders to run again. This dude is older than Joe Biden, and you still want him to run for president. Like, leave that old man alone. Let him go play baseball with his kids in the backyard. Like, it's fucking senseless and meaningless. We keep seeing these same old tired-ass shows every year. Every year. And it's not us. It's not Black people. It's not Latinos. It's not indigenous people. It's not indigenous Hawaiians. It's white people that don't seem to get it because they do not study. They do not study. They do not engage in any revolutionary praxis. They think that boring from within and reactionary ass trade unions is the way to go. And then when they get burned, then they become nihilists and they withdraw within themselves. You got to study. You got to engage in actual revolutionary practice at the grassroots. And listen to Dead Press.
On.
Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on, my God?
After Che Guevara died, his entire brigade basically starved to death in the Bolivian jungle because they were a bunch of students from the city that didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Yeah, literal skill issue. And they also pissed the peasants off, so they were isolated from the masses. The peasants basically saw them as a bunch of troublemakers, plus the Bolivian Communist Party, which was a revisionist party, did not like Che and his guerrillas very much operating in their country. So he got sold out by the Bolivian communists as well. Communists.
See, before I draw the line, let me welcome you close to all the folks who knew Obama sold the people a hoax. Gave the money to suckers while our community's still poor. Withdrew the troops but started another war. Colonizing, terrorizing, creating the oil crisis so they can make a killing on food and gas prices. Prisons is filling, they trying to lock up the future. Militarized borders and control of computers. Want a stupid bumping music that ain't healthy for the shortest. Privatizing schools and policemen in the hallways. Can't be dormant, I'm awoken. Rise up, be ready. Brought the family with us, and we hold the machetes.
Riding the fence. Too many people be riding the fence. Yeah, you say you ready for war, but are you convinced? I'm
He's saying riding the fence, then he has Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. I love it.
not convinced. If you're a rider, freedom fighter, crowd excited, then let's do this. We can make one big.
I swear to God, if you all get my fucking stream banned because you keep recommending me copyrighted music, I'm going to kick off at somebody's ass.
United middle finger to the U.S. Give me the bravest and the truest. Fuck the hippest and the coolest. We gon' spark this revolution and cross this off our to-do list. Put your foot down if you look down on this criminal system. Put your book down and get shook down like my niggas in prison. Don't be condemning and condoning their actions in one sentence. Make up your mind, choose your side. Is you a patriot or a menace to society? So riot or sit by quietly. But don't pull out your flag and try to say you gon' ride with me. You flip-flopping like hip-hop. I don't get locked in that trick box. Get got like Big and Pop. Shit's got to stop. I am the people, not the pig. I repeat after Fred. So please blow my brains out if I ever forget.
Please blow my brains out if I ever forget. If I got a tattoo, that would be it.
Thinkers. I'm down with the movers and the shakers and the ex-Henny drinkers, the non-smokers, the health advocates, the non-voters, the young bloods in the hood training like soldiers. I'm on the side of the tracks with the hood gardens, the little child that don't color inside the margins. I don't ride the fence, I cultivate my strength, cause if it ain't about power, it don't make sense. I've been down with Boogie Down since BDP, some brown pride and black power.
Compare this to like the lame ass folk music that white leftists seem to always want to resurrect.
I will make RBG. A OG told me choose battles wisely. In the struggle, don't forget your children and your wifey. If you don't see me on the podium preaching it, every day I hope my every action is teaching it. Cause revolution is a process. It's not a...
This song is ableist. This song is ableist. It doesn't make any account.
Speech or panel, don't bite off more than you can handle.
Actually, it does use that old Union song, Which Side Are You On? But it revamps it for a modern era and puts it over a hip-hop beat. That is how you meld genres.
Shot City, Palestina, Venezuela, the South Bronx, baby. Yo, I still rock hard like slingshots in Palestina. Con todos los estudiantes por educación gratuita. I'm with workers uprising and the right to unionize. We ain't crossed the border, so you better legalize. I'm with...
You compare this to like white rap, like white, well, white wannabe revolutionary rap. Like that shit all sounds forced. Like it's basically egghead shit. This is organic. This is from the people. How does it compare to Bob Dylan? Well, they're two entirely different genres. It's like comparing apples to pecans.
La Peña del Bronx. I'm still with Vitor Toro, cause gentrification is polluting my borough.
I guess you all want this to be a music stream, huh?
So bro never, South Bronx forever. Decolonize the block, make your neighborhood better. I ain't down with the rich, I'm more Richie Perez. Don't talk to grand juries or cooperate with feds. I'm with students, doctors, janitors, teachers. We need living wages, but they don't believe us. Monida, Barretto, Spofford, Hunts Point, my hood, I love. We join forces, forming our deck, BX. Taking over buildings, rebel Diaz for the children.
Politics to sickness, streets express symptoms. Caught up with it quickness, big business pimps them. Scholars play the simpleton, fools play with wisdom. Who will stand and fight back? Who will play the victim? Trials and tribulations, injured generations. Stolen history and outsourced innovation. Babel Tower fell, tribes are at war. The battle story's not represented in the score. The game's fixed, most of the faces and names switched. Credit stolen for art.
It's a remix of Which Side Are You On by Rebel Diaz featuring Dead Prez and Rock Irishian. Science.
Science, religion, language, technology, philosophy, and with strangers. They paid in hatred for the knowledge of the ancients. Power in words, actions, gun swords. Aim Panthers, brown berets, young lords. Pick a side, one sickness, one cure, one love, one blood, one world, but one war.
Fuck yeah, horns. I love anything with a horn in it. We need more horns in hip hop. Horny hip hop. Low key, he follows me on Twitter.
Track is not an attack upon the American people. It's an attack upon the system within which they live. Since 1945, the United States has attempted to overthrow more than 50 foreign governments. In the process, the US has caused the end of life for several million people and condemned many millions more to a life of agony and despair. The strength of your dreaming prevents you from reason. The American dream only makes sense if you're sleeping. It's just a cruel fantasy. Their politics took my voice away, but their music gave it back to me. The land where the lumpen are consumed by consumption, killing themselves to shovel down food in abundance. I guess a rapper from Britain is a rare voice. America is capitalism on steroids.
I actually like when Brits do hip hop well. I think their like accents lend itself very well to the art form.
Natives kept in casinos and reservations. Displaced slaves never given reparations. Take everything from Native Americans and wonder why I call it the racist experiment. Afraid of your melanin, the same as it's ever been. That ain't gonna change with the race of the president. I see imperialism under your skin tone. You could call it Christopher Columbus syndrome.
Is it Obama's nation or an abomination? Is it Obama's nation or an abomination? Is it Obama's nation or an abomination? Doesn't make any difference when they form your nation. Is it Obama's nation or an abomination? Is it Obama's nation or an abomination? Is it Obama's nation or an abomination? Doesn't make any difference when they form your nation.
The world's entertainer, the world's devastator. From Venezuela to Mesopotamia. Your cameras lie cause they have to hide the savage crimes committed on leaders that happen to try and nationalize eating competitions while the world's been starving. Beat up communism with the help of Bin Laden. Where would your war of terror be without that man? Every day you create more Nidal Hassans. Kill a man from the military, you're a weirdo. But kill a wog from the Middle East, you're a hero. Your country is causing screams that never reach your ear holes. America inflicted 1,000,000 ground zeros. Follow the dollar and swallow your humanity. Soldiers committing savagery you never even have to see. Those mad at me, writing emails angrily. I'm not anti-America, America is anti-me.
Is it Obama's nation or an abomination? Is it Obama's nation or an abomination?
For making this song, he got his house raided by the British cops and got labeled a terrorist. Oof. So, going back to the theme of physical education and exercise not being ableist, this is a really good piece that Mao wrote on physical education. Did you all know that Mao was actually a PE teacher? Yeah. And he says that our nation is wanting in strength. The military spirit has not been encouraged. The physical condition of the population deteriorates daily. This is an extremely disturbing phenomenon. The promoters of physical education have not grasped the essence of the problem, and therefore their efforts, though prolonged, have not been effective. If this state continues, our weakness will increase further. To attain our goals and make our influence felt are external matters, the results. The development of our physical strength is an internal matter, a cause. If our bodies are not strong, we will be afraid as soon as we see enemy soldiers. And then how can we attain our goals and make ourselves respected? Strength depends on drill, and drill depends on self-awareness. The advocates of physical education have not failed to devise various methods. If their efforts have nevertheless remained fruitless, it is because external forces are insufficient to move the heart. If we wish to make physical education effective, we must influence people's subjective attitudes and stimulate them to be conscious of physical education. If one becomes conscious of the problem, a program for physical education will become easily, and we will attain our goals and make our influence felt as a matter of course. So basically what he's saying here is we have to influence people to take physical education and exercise seriously. Of course, some of these radical liberals, I don't even dare call these people leftists, they're never going to be convinced. They think that there's nothing wrong with them. They think that all they have to do is wallow in their misery and their disability. And I don't know, I guess the revolution will just happen and then they will be liberated. I don't even think they know what liberation means, but that is a fundamentally postmodern and bourgeois way of looking at the world. So to combat petty bourgeois thought and practice insinuating itself into the revolutionary movement and allowing radical liberals to fancy themselves communists, we have to study theory and we have to apply theory and we have to show them up in praxis. This is a really good thread. Keep Austin nasty. I'd like to end today's discourse with a short thread. I have a degree in exercise science. This summer will mark a decade being a certified personal trainer. And in the past 10 years, I've seen clients with bodies of all different abilities, ages, injury, illness, and size. I've worked with people throughout pregnancy and postpartum. I've worked with people recovering from heart surgery, knee replacements, shoulder, wrist, ankle, elbow, hip injury. I've helped roller derby athletes, distance runners, triathletes, and boxers cross-train for their sport. I've seen clients as young as 5 and well into their 70s. And I will tell you, for every single one of them, movement is medicine. Proper movement looks different to different bodies. My 94-year-old neighbor every day would take her walker and slowly, carefully walk down her driveway onto the sidewalk and one house over to the mailboxes. That was her workout. So no, you don't need an expensive gym membership to move your body. If you have a body, it is a good body. It is a strong body. Keep it strong. Make it stronger. Be strong for yourself and be strong for your comrades. So basically, this is a struggle, a line struggle on Twitter. Twitter is not the place for line struggle, but whatever. It's a struggle between people who believe that there is no control over the things that happen to them and people who want to seize and break the reactionary wheel of history. You cannot break the reactionary wheel of history. You cannot overthrow capitalism if you cannot maintain control over yourself. If you realize that there's something wrong with you, and yeah, there's things wrong with all of us. Nobody is 100% perfect. But part of being an adult, as opposed to a child and an adult body, is realizing that when things are wrong with us, we should do everything that we can to not let these things be inhibitors, to not let these things fuck us over and limit our ability to work as revolutionaries or as people in general. And I've noticed the trend among many leftists in the imperial core to get into nihilism and think that it's all hopeless, that they can't do anything, and they just might as well let themselves be cast adrift on the stormy sea of history. That's a really fucked up way to look at yourself. And nobody with that nihilistic mindset has any business calling themselves a revolutionary. You're not a revolutionary. Revolutionaries are all about changing things. They're about changing societies. We're about changing ourselves. You cannot change society, a whole ass society, never mind the most violent imperialist society in human history, if you cannot change yourself or if you even don't think that there's something wrong with you. How the fuck can you point out what's wrong with America if you can't even point out what's wrong with yourself? It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You're going to embarrass yourself, and you're going to be a discredit to the revolutionary movement, and you're going to make people not take us seriously. Here's an example. This individual, Justine Barron, who apparently has written for several notable left-wing magazines and journals, she's basically quote retweeting people's. For example, this individual, there are actually hundreds of ways to work out and make yourself healthier, including ways for people with cardiovascular illnesses. Millions of people with disabilities actually do this. Justine says they just hate us so profoundly. How can you detect hate in anything that this individual said? Here's another one. Are you saying that you can't move any muscles? Because if you can, then you can work out. It's just repeated muscle movements. Justine says, no explaining this kind of hate. It's just hating people for not being like you. And then Aaron Carter's #1 fan says that the overwhelming majority of disabled people can and should regularly exercise. Justine says, it's not logic. It's not debate. Just hate. Nobody hates you. Nobody hates you. Nobody is saying that we need a new Auction T4 to sterilize or murder all of the people who are who have what are classified by society as disabilities. Nobody is saying that. Nobody, literally nobody except a fascist is saying that. You are trying to cast people who are comrades as being enemies. As being enemies. Because they, and many of these people that these reactionaries like Justine are arguing with are disabled themselves. Nobody hates you. Nobody hates you. Like, I don't fucking know. I don't know if this is with these white people centering every aspect of their personality around their disability, around every aspect of their being around their disability. But this is a very fucked up way to think of yourself. Like, you are more than a fucking disability. Thank God colonized people exist in the United States, because if we had to depend on people like this for revolutionary theory, like, we would get nowhere because we'd be constantly wallowing in our own problems. These people will call the Black Panthers ableist for including a physical training regimen in their program. Nobody is saying that you should do exercises or other things that will hurt you. You cannot find anybody who is saying such a thing. You are arguing with people who do not exist in positions that are not being taken. Instead of getting into your feelings, do better and accept criticism and good advice. It's from each according to his ability. Helen Keller was blind and deaf, and she loved rowing, swimming, and horseback riding. She did not let her disabilities define who she was. She was also an organizer and member of the International Industrial Workers of the World and the Socialist Party of America. She even wrote articles about her love of exercise. Here's one. Nature has the power to renew and refresh. Helen Keller, this lady was blind and deaf. She says, I am partial to those forms of physical exercise and recreation which bring me into direct contact with nature. I've always had the feeling that nature has the power to renew and refresh our minds, our bodies, and our spirits. Essentially, touch grass, go outside. Don't sit on the internet and infect other people with your misery and be infected by other people's misery. If an exercise will worsen your disability, don't do it. Nobody is saying, like this individual Chris Richards is saying, not listening to people telling you that exercise is medically proven to make their disabilities worse isn't it. Where am I not listening? If an exercise will fuck you up, don't do it. That's common sense. Quit putting words in my mouth. The same imbecile says that this is one of the most hateful things I've read in a while, and I've had multiple people call me the R word or illiterate in the last 24 hours. And that was the post that I read earlier that I made. But that's more hateful than being called the R word. That's more hateful than being called illiterate. Like, this is some histrionic bullshit, honestly. My first mistake was just thinking actual revolutionaries are on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. Mad Platter says, yeah, the West specifically is cooked concerning revolution. I don't get it. Like, there's plenty of disabled athletes. It seems like a much smaller subset of the disability community that finds exercise hateful. They want socialism to sprout like flowers or out of the ether. That will never happen. Do everything in your power to create the context for a better future. Like, these people are frustrating themselves over nothing. Settlers when you ask them about the land. Settlers when they ask you about the land. Careful, it portrays Bart as blind. You're risking being labeled ableist. But honestly, just get off the fucking internet. Like, honestly, like, this is why we were able to come so much further in the past, because we did not have these distractions, these distractive arguments. We didn't have this shit going on. Nowadays, man, people would be calling the Black Panthers ableist. People would be calling Malcolm X ableist. People would be calling Harriet Tubman ableist. Like, this lady literally got knocked upside the fucking head. She had seizures for her entire life, and she was able to free hundreds of enslaved Africans. Don't let these things be like a crutch for you to lean on to make you ineffective. Don't let that happen. Like Ray's mom said in Ray Charles, the movie, don't let shit make you a cripple. Drugs, body problems, mental health problems, that shit only works to disable you as a revolutionary if you let it. Also, at work, I'm starting a book club. Some of the things that I'm going to, that I want to be thinking about, like having people read. Monster by Saynika Shakur, also known as Monster Cody. Manchild on the Promised Land by Claude Brown. Seize the Time by Bobby Seale. Defying the Tune by Kevin Rashid Johnson. Wretched of the Earth by Fanon. Fire on the Mountain by Terry Bisson. Rest in peace, he died last year. Autobiography of Malcolm X. Naked Soul of Iceberg Slim. Blue Rage, Black Redemption by Tukey Williams. Capitalism Plus Dope Equals Genocide by Sethual Tabor. My People Are Rising by Aaron Dixon, and Fanshin by William Hinton. So your boy is going to be sneaking communist theory into the minds of the unhoused in my city. Students at Madison High School walked out because of a ban on cell phones. Good for them. Good for them. The kids are all right. Soon they're going to be militant workers, and they're not going to take any boss's shit. I got enough books to read, but I will put it on the pile. I got 2 new ones today. This is The Last Children of Mill Creek. Mill Creek Valley was basically the center of the black working class until Harlan Bartholomew and the racist city administration tore it down. And ironically, my alma mater, St. Louis University, is heavily built on top of what was once Mill Creek Valley. There were a lot of black community institutions, etc. In that part of town, but for the most part, they're all gone. So this is basically a collection of accounts of people who lived in Mill Creek Valley before its destruction. And this is by Kevin Cook. It's Waco Rising. It's about David Koresh, the FBI, and the birth of America's modern militias. So yeah. Yes, I have a huge stack of books behind me. I broke my bookshelf. And this is why my mom did not have us in daycare. Look at that. Like, under what circumstance is that okay? Why would you be smacking a little girl upside the head? Like, that is, bruh. I can't stand people sometimes. But, man, that pizza was fire, though. But, like, don't eat shit like this every day. Pentagon-fueled study warns dementia among U.S. officials poses a national security threat. No shit. This is a study by the RAND Corporation. And they say that individuals who hold or held a security clearance and handle classified material could become a security threat if they develop dementia and unwittingly share government secrets. The US's current leadership is not only the oldest in history because people are living longer, but also the number of older people in Congress has grown dramatically. In recent years. In 1981, only 4% of Congress was over the age of 70. By 2022, that number had spiked to 23%. In 2017, Vox reported that a pharmacist had filled Alzheimer's prescriptions for multiple members of Congress. With little incentive for an elected official to disclose such an illness, it's difficult to know just how pervasive the problem is. Feinstein's retinue of staffers have for years sought to conceal her decline, having established a system to prevent her from walking the halls of Congress alone and risk having an unsupervised interaction with the reporter. So they don't even trust these people to talk to reporters by themselves. We're cooked. I train people with disabilities. They work out too, y'all. They're interested in fitness too. I have a whole accessible yoga program for folks who are in wheelchairs and bedbound. I don't know what y'all are saying right now. People are just getting in their fucking feelings. People are getting in their feelings because they either don't understand the gist of what's being put out or they want to maintain their own little, their silly little lifestyle. This is based Eugene Debs. I used to think that he was soft, but this is an excerpt from something that he wrote. The time has come for the UMW, United Mine Workers, and the Western Federation of Miners to levy a special monthly assessment to create a gunman defense fund. This fund should be sufficient to provide each member with the latest high-power rifle, the same used by the corporation gunmen, and 500 rounds of cartridges. In addition to this, every district should purchase and equip and man enough Gatling and machine guns to match the equipment of Rockefeller's private army of assassins. This suggestion is made advisedly, and I hold myself responsible for every word of it. The Constitution of the United States guarantees you the right to bear arms, as it does to every other citizen, but there is not a word in this instrument, nor in any United States statute, state law, or city ordinance that authorizes the existence of a private army for the purposes of cold-blooded murder and assassination. Mine guard is simply a masterclass term for a working-class assassin. This is from the Eugene V. Debs Museum. This was published in the International Socialist Review in the wake of the Ludlow Massacre of 1914, when the Colorado National Guard and a Rockefeller-controlled private militia killed at least 21 striking miners, women, and children. So, Debs says arm up. And you should. Like, we've got leftists who are afraid of fucking guns. Like, when people say we are not our ancestors, that is an insult. We need to be our ancestors. We need to be our ancestors. Because our ancestors simply would not just sit and take this shit. They would throw the fuck down. Drew Pavlo is mad at me. Apparently, I am one of 4 of the most insane, stupid, and unhinged communists on Twitter. To be attacked by the enemy is not a bad thing, but a good thing. Here's a cool video. Beyonce and the Appropriation of Black Radicalism by Anansi's Library, who you should definitely go follow.
Tifa? It's me, Ghazi, the Commander-in-Chief of the Black Hammer
Satan, get thee behind.
Organization. I heard you had some not-so-nice things to say about me. I heard you had so nice things to say about my hammers.
Beyonce fan? You probably are if you're a black member of the audience. Since the 1990s, her career first with the group Destiny's Child and then solo has been iconic to the black community. In so much as we have royalty, she is it, alongside the Obamas. No one else could gain comparable status.
So she needs to be guillotined?
In modern day, it's doubtful whether that kind of fever that Beyonce inspires is even possible for another artist to obtain. Many have fought for that crown and none have been successful. But recently there's been a break, a shift in the tide. Let me tell you a story. In early December, last year as of recording, Beyonce released a film titled Renaissance, about her tour by the same name. When it was announced this film would play in Tel Aviv, Israel, fans had a multitude of reactions. While many begged the star not to allow her film to play in Israel while Gaza is being bombed during an active genocide, some rallied to her defense, like bees defending their queen, lamenting why black celebrities are expected to say anything and why we should care about people that have nothing to do with us, quote unquote, or hold black celebrities to standards that white ones aren't held to. Never mind the fact that Taylor Swift, the white equal to Beyonce in fame, not talent, is facing similar backlash. Some went as far as to claim that she couldn't say anything, which is blatantly untrue. A billionaire with her own label, Beyonce is more equipped than almost any other artist to speak on the issue and have significant impact with her voice. No one is forcing her to be silent, and even if they were, it would be a massive dent to her integrity not to attempt to speak out anyway. But why do people expect Beyonce of all people to speak on this issue in the first place? Well, it may be that for many, she has at least seemed like a figure of black liberation, at least to the politically unaware. Beyonce has intentionally cultivated an image of herself as the patron saint of black capitalism and black capitalists, as has
And also simultaneously a revolutionary. Like, she's literally cosplaying a Black Panther here. I remember when she did this, like, people were talking, oh, she's so woke. Like, no. Okay. When she did this, like, we were going through the whole post-Ferguson movement, like, revolution was chic. It was what everybody was talking about. Everybody wanted to be woke. Like, we have fucking Prince Harry, who literally dressed up as a fascist at a costume party back in the 2000s, and now he's the fucking Prince of woke. Like, everybody wants to reinvent themselves. Corporations want to do it. Celebrities want to do it. Like, yeah, and usually their version of wokeness is just tweeting Black Lives Matter or putting up a pride flag on Twitter. It's nothing more substantive. Maybe they'll throw a few $100,000 to a bail fund, which is very, very good, but it doesn't necessarily make up for a history of bad politics or a history of exploitation. So yeah, and the reason why, like, people are expecting Beyonce to, like, take a principled stand about this or trying to hold her accountable is because of the fact that she fancies herself as some sort of transgressive revolutionary. Like, I remember when that whole Renaissance shit went off in Israel, and like I was getting swarmed. Like, the Bayhive was all over me. Like, how dare you? How dare you insult this black woman? Like, first of all, it's ridiculous that entertainers, that singers, and others are expected, like, to speak politically for the black community, okay? Like, revolutionaries need to be speaking for the black community. We should not be expecting sports players and actors and musicians to be our political leadership or our political representatives before the world. I mean, yes, that is how New African people, how Black Americans have made most of our contributions in the cultural field. But no, we can't do that because these people are going to speak for their class first and foremost, and then they're going to speak for themselves. So we have to keep that in mind. And the major issue comes when you actually expect these people to be revolutionaries, because they're not. Why would they want to overthrow a system that has enabled them to become rich beyond their wildest dreams, especially if they come from the fucking projects or a working class family? They don't want to be working class. They want to be extremely wealthy.
her husband Jay-Z. Although he would tell you being called a capitalist is a slur. But what is even liberatory about her? Figures like Beyonce and other large black celebrities serve the systems in power around us. She has always pushed an image and narrative of black success under capitalism and black quote-unquote excellence that has encouraged faith in a system that does not serve to liberate anyone and only reinforces it. Black bourgeois figures, like herself, are not for the liberation of black people per se.
Beyonce dressed up as a panther in 2016 when the Super Bowl came to my city, San Jose. We straight up had tanks on the street and snipers for that shit. That's wild. So yeah, that was 2 years after the Ferguson uprising.
But the right of black capitalists to also exploit, and in some cases the right to be the sole exploiters of the black community. To this end, the black bourgeois...
Yeah, so a black bourgeoisie doesn't exist, but these people want a black bourgeoisie, like our own bourgeoisie that exploits us. So they don't want the white man exploiting us. They don't want non-black people exploiting us. They, like Anansi just said, want to be the sole exploiters. And that is not liberatory. That's neo-colonialism. That's the same shit that happened in Africa and the Caribbean. So we don't have white colonial governors anymore. Now we just have exploiters still, but they look like us. How is that liberatory? How does that improve the standard of life of the toiling millions?
Bourgeoisie skillfully co-opts the image of black liberation and the image of our radical tradition to push their own narratives. We've seen examples.
Here's to hoping for a new Black Panther movement. We're not going to have a new Black Panther movement. The Black Panther movement, the Black Panther Party rather, existed in the context of the late 60s and early 70s. So why would we want to recreate a formation that existed in radically different material conditions? Why would we want to do that? And I mean, all respect and all power to modern day Panthers, all power and respect to the Revolutionary Intercommunal Black Panther Party. But honestly, I don't think such projects are what we need to be doing right now. We need a multinational with prime emphasis on the colonized people's Communist Party.
Examples of something similar from non-black people. All of us are aware of the appropriation of Martin Luther King by right-wing racists to shame black communities that don't meet their standards or behave in ways that are too disruptive to the system. The same people who killed him are honoring him on Twitter.
Remember when A Taste of Power, when Huey P. Newton beat Ike Turner's ass for not wanting to play a benefit show? It wasn't that he didn't want to play, it was that he thought that the Black Panthers had ripped them off. So yeah, he was Elaine Brown. He also slammed the door in Bobby Seale's face. So these were still lumpen dudes. You don't slam a door in the party chairman's face. So yeah, he basically led the Panthers onto the stage, and they beat the shit out of the entire Ike and Tina Turner review.
Twitter, or shaming us for not being like the appropriated image of him they created. Quote, Beyonce does stand for something, for a particular strain of racial capitalism that is concerned mostly with selling the aesthetics of black liberation for mass consumption. There's a lot of money to be made in satisfying white mainstream fantasies of safe liberation, even if, perhaps especially if, those fantasies defang movements for actual freedom and justice and preserve the status quo. The facets of this liberal fantasy include black firstism, or being tapped by white-owned brands to be the first black person to do a thing. This was played up when Beyonce was the first black woman to headline Coachella, and when she was featured by Tiffany as the first black woman to wear its famed yellow diamond, a rock sourced during the bloody era of British colonialism in South Africa. The liberal fantasy of progress requires performances that borrow from the aesthetics of black and LGBTQ liberation. This allows black people to make millions off organizations with a history of anti-blackness, such as the National Football League, or from colonial entities such as Tiffany. In the case of Beyonce, it allows her to quote Malcolm X on black American women's dehumanization, while saying absolutely nothing about the terrifying dehumanization of Palestinians. It allows her to make a song titled America Has a Problem, yet say nothing about the role of the United States in bombing Palestinians to bits. End quote. Another example could be AOC discussing the Black Panthers' food programs as if they're part of some liberal tradition of community aid, and leaving out their politics.
I love how black people don't fuck with AOC. Like white social democrats, DSA, my DSA comrades, unfortunately continue to promote her because she unfortunately is a member of DSA. Of course, if I was in any position of power in DSA, I would immediately move for her expulsion because of her cowardice and her endorsement of Joe Biden. But no black people that I know, no black leftists fuck with AOC because I saw somebody claiming that she's a CIA plant, but she's a centrist on a good day. There's no reason that we need to be standing her or continuing to promote her and uphold her as a socialist when there are far better black socialists and Latino socialists in the United States that are active and that need our help and that need our support and who need the platform that AOC continues to be granted. have you ever wondered why the bourgeois right-wing media like casts and portrays AOC as a socialist? Because her politics are watered down and fucked up. That's why they're not going around interviewing Kevin Rashid Johnson, who is an actual socialist, because they don't want his line getting out there. They want AOC's line. They want people to think that AOC is the representative of the socialist revolutionary line in the United States. That's why they're upholding these people. That's why they're parading these people in front of the masses, because they want the masses thinking that this is what it means to be a transgressive socialist.
And the role the government she works for and is part of.
And yes, it is true that most of the DSA doesn't even like AOC. Nate says that I think Bernie did really get the black vote because whenever he would be asked about the reparations question, he would dance around the issue. Yeah, he was a class reductionist, and it wasn't necessarily as much Bernie, but it was his fans, like his fans who literally. I remember I had a Bernie bro in my I think it was intro to Black Studies class. I can't remember, but he sat next to me, and he was like, well, he was basically saying that we should bend down and kiss Bernie's ass because he apparently was the only candidate that gave a shit about black people. I'm like, who are you to tell me who gives a shit about my people? And then like one of his speeches, I believe this was in Seattle or Portland, somewhere on the West Coast, in the Pacific Northwest, he was interrupted by two or three black women who were calling him to account for his ignorance on issues relevant to us as an oppressed nation, us as a people. And he had his fucking stands out in the audience demanding that these women be tased. So yeah, a lot of black progressives and black revolutionaries didn't really fuck with Bernie in the first place, but a lot of black progressives kind of turned away from him because of that. And he failed to call out these fans who were demanding that these women be physically assaulted for interrupting one of his speeches.
Played in their murder and jailings, upholding their image while not once advocating for the release of still living former Panthers in jail. Beyonce's 2016 Super Bowl performance saw her literally wearing a sexualized cheerleader cosplay of the Black Panthers, blonde wig, berets, and all. In her hands, a legacy is made
I don't think a Black Panther would wear a blonde wig.
meaningless. She is literally the arbiter of white capitalism absorbing the black radical tradition and warping it into something meaningless. Beyonce and AOC are both part of a liberal capitalist tradition of appropriating the image of figures and movements that would have fiercely disagreed with their actions and ideas, conveniently leaving out anywhere they would have disagreed. Black capitalism has been debated against for years by radicals, and these exact conversations can be seen playing out in the old debate footage from decades before. The image, not actual figures, but the image of them, is basically a commodity, a form of social capital, in the way that having a black friend is used as an excuse or magic fetish that creates a racismless void to non-black people. Appropriating radical black figures for whatever one's political needs may be allows one to signal that they have the only truly correct politics.
The aesthetics without the politics.
The black radical tradition is a cabinet full of Jesus figures, at times so deeply divorced from their actual politics as to be unrecognizable. MLK is appropriated by anti-communist conservative Christians who pretend he shared their ideology even though he was a self-proclaimed socialist. His name is used to justify racist policies such as ending affirmative action, and to claim he would be against it when he spoke loudly about the need for those specific kinds of policies. Black people
I've even seen reactionaries. They call themselves conservatives and liberals call them conservatives, but I call them reactionaries. As a matter of fact, I call everybody reactionary because everybody except me is reactionary. Anyways, I've even seen reactionaries trying to claim Malcolm X because he said something about black capitalism once. They rip it completely out of context. They ignore the fact that he was saying that black people should be in control of our economic destiny and that white people should not be in our communities exploiting us. And they're saying that, oh, see, Malcolm X wouldn't like communism. He was a supporter of capitalism. Yeah. Imperialists are insidious with their ability to forget facts. They don't read. They selectively read and they selectively cherry pick quotes that support their baseless and harmful assertions.
also do this too. There are hordes of black cis men who uplift the image of the Panthers, but also have views on women's liberation that would make Phyllis Schlafly raise the black and purple in protest. Men who catcall and sexually harass women but uphold the image of a party that was feminist, largely run by and sustained by women, and who would literally kill their male members who acted in sexually predatory ways. The conversation about misogyny in the Panthers is a long one that they themselves were having and adjusted for. Misogynistic men upholding the image of the Panthers, Assata Shakur and Fred Hampton, are no better than white conservatives appropriating MLK. For prime example, Jonathan Majors used the image of Coretta Scott King to abuse his girlfriend and hold her to an absurd standard, a trend that didn't start with him. That particular aspect of the black radical tradition has long been weaponized against women. Miss King herself is flattened, her own activism and legacy turned into nothing more than a doting wife, silently and uncritically supporting everything her husband does. Many of these men can't even name or explain.
No, dude, revolution is when you stand on a tank and go, "This is revolution!" while Rage Against the Machine plays until you fly into the sky like the end of the Matrix.
The ideology of the Panthers. They have no understanding of Marxism, Leninism, communalism, anti-fascism, anti-imperialism, or colonialism. Yet they wield the image of people who frankly would be so deeply ideologically opposed to them they might have just shot them. This fetishization both disrespects these figures and disrupts our ability to accurately discuss, learn from, and criticize the movements these figures come from. There is also something relevant to be said here about the concept of black excellence, as itself an extension of black capitalism. I hardly would be the first to say it, but that attitude is actually quite toxic, and it's something Beyonce and celebrities like her are known for. Black excellence as an attitude reframes complacency and compliance as something revolutionary and recaptures radical pro-black sentiments in ways palatable to capitalists.
It's also like this whole concept of black excellence. It roots all the way back to the talented tenthism, which is basically pseudo eugenics, saying that the talented tenth of our community that is wealthy and that has been to college and all of these other things should display leadership over the benighted masses. So yeah, like it's basically saying that if you ain't Beyonce, if you ain't Jay-Z, if you ain't an Obama, you ain't shit. Do you have any idea how much pressure that puts on people who may go to trade school, people who do very societally useful work, but because they're not a fucking billionaire, that they're seen as being just another fucking dude on the corner? Like, no. And this is what happens when you embrace capitalism and when you introduce it to a colonized people. You end up with with these unattainable standards, and it drives people up a fucking wall. FD Signifier has, yeah, I remember I watched that. You know, my brother has actually independently discovered FD Signifier, and he watched the video on the on Farrakhan and Bill Cosby and shit. And fire black conservatism.
Remember this attitude being pushed on me by my own family. I walked around with an understanding that because of my blackness, I would be looked down
on. This is what my brother watched, The Real Faces of Black Conservatism. So FD, who I love, has Farrakhan as a distraction, Cosby as a double agent, and Jay-Z as the capitalist. That's the other one. And like he independently discovered FD Signifier. Maybe I'll have him make a guest appearance on stream and talk about the video and the other things that he's discovered. But I've been trying to introduce good politics to him for years, and it seems to be sticking. Maybe his service in the army and his subsequent wounding had an effect on him. So, regardless, I love my family, especially when they become revolutionary. Well, at least when they lean towards revolution. Trapped Palestinians in Gaza are using ropes to get water after Israeli forces killed a 14-year-old girl trying to find water outside a hospital. So at this hospital, there's a sniper camped outside, just basically fucking shooting at anybody that's in the line to get help, or just it's just a fucking war crime conga line. It's a war crime conga line. And like, I'm fucking speechless. And here we are in the U.S. We've got these spoiled motherfuckers arguing over exercise being ableist. Like, these are the people who are supposed to help liberate the Palestinian people. Thank God they have their own fucking armed forces, because if depending on these people, they'd have been cooked long ago. I'm sorry. NYPD Sergeant Wilder Savon, Haitian, was at this protest. He has a history of misconduct and brutality. He made at least $166,000 last year. Deputy Chief Lance was at this protest. This was from 2023. So, November 20th, cops were surveilling and harassing and repressing people lining up on certain streets to block and basically steer the march before totally blocking the march from continuing at Sunset Park. You all should also check out Within Our Lifetime. They're a really, really good group. Just saw two teenage girls hop the BART turnstile and run up the stairs and start making out. And I couldn't resist the urge to shout, "Be gay, do crimes." And they raised their fists and shouted back, "Stonewall was a riot." So I am informing you that the kids are, in fact, all right. And that's all I've got for tonight. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.